77th time's the charm. I don't know if it's been 77 times, but I've been having issues this evening. Been a long week. I've changed the configuration of a few things, added a few other things onto here. But, you know, I was talking about this guy yesterday, and that's Ethan Suplee. He played Randy from My Name is Earl, which was a pretty funny show. Great actor. Always had a weight problem, which you can see in a lot of the different roles he had, where he was massive and then he was just big and then he was massive. But he's managed to pull himself together, which I haven't physically yet, hence the Fat and Ordinary title. But he's done a boss job of pulling himself together, and that's just excellent. It's inspirational, really. Anyway, the glitch in the Matrix. Now, I don't believe the glitch is actually in the whole Matrix. I think we've got this thing internally where we've got disparate programming going on at the same time, and that's where PTSD comes from and other things like that, where we're reconciling reality and other things are sometimes not ideally congruent. So with me, forming long-term relationships can be a little bit difficult because we moved around a lot when I was young, changed schools all the time, went to different locations, spent a lot of time just playing by myself. My brother and I didn't necessarily share a lot of things together, but we don't really have a lot of childhood memories. I just know forming long-term relationships with a lot of people can be quite difficult, and I think humans need that in some way, shape or form, which is why family units are a really good thing. Now, family unit doesn't necessarily have to mean your biological family. Blood sometimes isn't thicker than water. Sometimes it's just really slippery. So the woman I call my mother's not my biological mother, but she's been more of a mother to me over the period of time that I've had interactions with her than anybody else has, and she's the voice of reason in my head. She's the stop it, you're being a naughty, naughty boy. So when I describe her as my mother, because spiritually that's how it is. But my wife's family is pretty much my family at the moment. Her parents are basically my parents. We support one another. We do things with one another. We coalesce as a unit. And that's great. It's good to have these people in my life. So I'm still learning to interact with these people in a healthy and productive way. Productive for me, productive for them, without being detrimental to what other people think and what other people do. Sometimes it can be difficult because all humans have different ways of looking at everything. So that in itself isn't necessarily the problem. I've noticed that there's this glitch in my programming. It's a glitch that's different, that whether it's the instinct part that wants us to have company or whatever it is, but the conditioning of my life and being this isolation that I had doesn't necessarily work with the way the human brain or mind or spirit or whatever it is wired. But I'm working on it. So this last 18 months for a lot of us has been quite difficult because people have come across things that, you know, like they were in an office, they were getting their social environment, and then they've been isolated. We've been told we have to wear masks. It's made the world a slightly different place, or for some people a greatly different place to operate in, and it's caused a quite visible conflict, a butting of heads between two different lots of conditioning inside people's brains. So at work, quite often I have people come in, they give this stink eye, they're wearing a mask, they give the stink eye to people not wearing masks. This isn't about COVID, this is about cognitive dissonance. This is about people doing things that aren't actually logical. They'll have their masks on, they'll give the stink eye to people not wearing their masks, they'll yell at people not wearing their masks, or they'll yell at me because I'm behind the counter, I'm the representative of the space that they're occupying. They'll yell at me for not enforcing other people wearing their masks when it's not my job to do that, and it's not company policy to do that. But then they'll grab their disposable mask with their unsanitized hand, they'll pull it down so that their phone can scan their face. bleedy deep so that they can then pay with their phone. Now, this programming isn't all that old, but the mask programming isn't all that old either. So they're trying to run two completely different operating systems at the same time, and it doesn't really make any sense, and it doesn't make anybody happy, and it's causing a lot more distance between people than it really has to. If the law says wear a mask, should you wear a mask? Probably. Or stay away from people if you don't want to wear a mask. Stay away from places you have to wear a mask if you don't want to wear a mask. But we choose to live in a society, so there's sometimes conditions put upon that which allows this society to exist. So sometimes you have to take one for the team. And I'm not talking about me, I'm just talking about as a general rule. But then to do all the things within that new set of programming that you're told not to do. Don't touch your mask. If you do touch your mask, sanitize your hands and then replace your mask with, I'm talking disposable masks. Those are all things that are part of the new programming that don't coincide with the old programming. The problem is the old programming has many, many alternatives. The new programming really doesn't. So you're either you think the mask edicts are correct, in which case you should be operating within those parameters and changing the other programming. You could pay with a card. You can program your phone to use a password. There's lots of different things that you can do rather than trying to mesh two completely different things together. So I was going to go on a story about how I consider myself a Luddite because I'm not a big fan of social media, which is funny because I'm trying to build something on a social media platform, but not being a fan of social media because a lot of the time I don't like myself on social media. I'll argue with people for the sake of arguing with people. It doesn't matter whether I believe I'm right or whether I know that they're wrong. I just tended to stir the pot. I think they call that a troll. I mean, not mean, never doxing people, never doing anything like that, but specifically pointing out other people's cognitive dissonance. I have a heap. I'm not going to deny that. It's the nature of being a human. But most of mine only affect me, not everybody else. So I can't remember where I was going now, but social media, I don't necessarily think has been a help. The technology, well, we wouldn't be able to have lockdowns without the modern technology. So in some ways, the technology is really, really good. Technology in general has always progressed for the betterment of humanity, but then we become consumers. So we need a new phone every 20 minutes. Or we need a new dress every 20 minutes. We need a new car every 20 minutes. So we become consumers. So the consumption of the technology is a bad thing, not necessarily the technology itself. So with any of the problems that might be facing humanity, such as climate change, technology is the thing that's going to improve that, not sending us back to the Stone Age, which some people think we need to do. It's not going to work. Technology is the thing that has always improved man in general. Modern medicine, modern science, modern transportation, all of these things were improvement. They've made our worlds bigger. So it's been good. So, a couple of quotes. There's a F. Scott Fitzgerald, an author from the US. The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposing ideas in the mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. It's debatable whether a lot of us function. I get two ideas in my mind and I might be able to go through the physical states of continuing to function properly, but it doesn't mean I'm happy. And a lot of what I've felt with my anxiety and my depression in my life has been from holding two opposing ideas. Do I identify as a billionaire? Possibly, but I'm not. And Carl Sagan had a lovely thing to say, and this is the problem that I think, the biggest problem that I think we're having, is that people don't really know exactly what's going on and we're fed a lot of information from sources that are maybe not as reputable as they should be, whether it be the internet or the media or sometimes the government, sometimes your mate, sometimes our brains just connect things together that aren't really connected, and that gives us really bad ways of looking at things. So we live in a society exquisitely dependent on science and technology, in which hardly anyone knows anything about science and technology. I'll attest to that. I know nothing about nothing. I don't think anybody does. So nobody knows nothing about nothing. Yes, it's full of negatives. So does that mean everybody knows everything about everything? I doubt it. Yeah. But I think Douglas Adams, the author of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series and the Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency books, and he's probably written other things, but again, I'm not a massive researcher. We are stuck with technology when what we really want is just stuff that works. I find that with computers and new phones and everything else, because you've got to then put all your passwords and all your everything back in them. I don't know about Apple products because I only own one. It does the job commendably, but it's not really the platform that I want to get my soul sucked into. So I get a computer, then I've got to find apps, and then I've got to do all this stuff, and it's not necessarily the right thing to do. And see there, the Luddite coming out in me. Completely forgot to turn that thing off. I mean, makes me feel like this guy's character from My Name Is Earl. But anyway, it's all I've really got to say. It causes me grief that I'm expected to behave a particular way, and I try to behave in that particular way, but other people behave in the extreme in both directions. I mean, that's their journey to go on, but unfortunately they seem to drag people into their journey. And I'm trying not to, well, actually that's not true. I am trying to actually drag you guys into this journey with me. It's a journey that we can take. That's all I've got to say about that. Be excellent to one another.